Hi, I'd like to talk to you about my experience with Primo and my experience with Masteron and what I think is a practical difference between the two of them. Alright, first of all, Primo, if you get real Primo, is much, much more expensive than underground Masteron. So for me to do 1,400, for instance, a week of Primo will be $660 a month just for Primo, which is like double my GH bill. Whereas Masteron would be $180. Now, if you want to go Underground Labs Primo, it would be $300. So even Underground Labs Primo is still almost double the cost of Masteron. I mean, this isn't a video about what Masteron and Primo are relative to other steroids. I'm just comparing the two. I assume everyone knows the applications, and I might get into that a little bit because I won't be able to get around it. But the reason why we're comparing these two drugs is because first you use testosterone, then you use GH because the testosterone converts to estrogen, and the estrogen amplifies the GH into IGF-1. And the purpose of adding in a DHT derivative of the two best ones are Primo and Masteron is to add to the total androgenic level, the total anabolic load, but mitigate some of the estrogen. That in theory, nobody can run 2,000 milligrams of testosterone and not have too much estrogen, not get gyno, unless they've had gyno surgery. But usually at some level, for instance with me, the sweet spot somewhere between an 80 estrogen and 120 estrogen. At 120 estrogen, I'm certainly going to get gyno. At an 80 estrogen, I typically don't. And so that gets me better IGF-1 results. The same amount of GH, 6 units, might get me 370 if I have a 60 estradiol, but it might get me 450 if I have 120 estradiol. So you get more IGF-1 out of your GH. But I mean, as you notice, 40 versus 120, that's a threefold difference for just a 100-point bump. It may not be worth it, especially if there's side effects associated with it. So that's why we use the DHT derivatives. There you go. That is your presentation. So your DHT derivatives, Primo or Masteron, we know that Primo is more expensive. That's the biggest difference. Also, Primo causes welts. You've heard that Primo has a high PIP, that Primo is painful on injection. The injection site's painful. It's worse than that. It's not just pain, it gets swollen, which means it's inflamed, which means that there's possible scar tissue formation, which means for a cosmetic sport like bodybuilding, you're taking this drug to give you bigger muscles so you can win in a show, but if it's going to hurt your look and your definition in that muscle, it's not worth it. It's now counterproductive, not helpful. Especially when there's Masteron, which has no pain or swelling on injection site. Now, I know what you're thinking, like maybe you're using contaminated shit. No, because I've used several different Underground Labs brands from people I trust for Primo, and I've talked to people who get the real Bayer Primo from Turkey, and it still causes the welts. It still causes pain on injection. But there's no way around it. Primo is painful, and it's pain. It sounds like, oh, I'm not a pussy, I can handle pain. You run out of places to inject because it gets so swollen that you can't inject there anymore. It's like that Requiem for a Dream, where the main character shoots heroin so much into his antecubital area that he ends up having his arm sawed off. It's like really, really noticeable through your clothes, lumps in everywhere you inject, and Primo sucks. So people talk about how Primo's so great, and they're like, oh, I've gotten good Primo. It's like, again, in the end, you're still paying triple or almost quadruple the price to get something that does the exact same thing. Now, there's some argument that Primo's more neutral, whereas Masteron's slightly more androgenic, meaning that if you had 1,000 test and 1,000 Primo, you might have a 50 estradiol. But if you use 1,000 test and 1,000 Masteron, you might have a 30 estradiol. So then you would use just more test, and you'd use 1,100 test and 900 Masteron. I mean, test is cheaper than Masteron, and obviously cheaper than Primo. So if you're going to be that precise with the exact effects, and you're going to get blood work tested, you got to remember that unless you're using the LC-MS-MS test for testosterone and estradiol, it's not accurate. It's not even remotely accurate. So you can't really make a decision based on that. Like, you have to pay a fortune for... So, for example, I do a full panel that's better than everyone's panel. It's got way more on it than, like, Merrick. And Merrick has the best panel I've ever seen. Merrick's panel is $800. My panel is like $400. So, and it's got better stuff on it. I can do it LC-MS-MS, but then the price goes up to $600. So if you want to spend $600 every month to titrate out the exact dose of Primo to get the exact amount of estradiol you want, to get the exact amount of IGF-1 you want, and then switch to Masteron and do the whole experiment over again, then yeah, after about 2 years you can figure out exactly how much Masteron, like in my body, Masteron's 110% the equivalency of Primo for the purposes of suppressing estrogen conversion from testosterone. I don't know anyone that sophisticated. Most people can't even count and use the syringe right. That they are using a hypodermic syringe and not an insulin syringe. They're injecting every 2 days and not every day. So they're doing everything wrong. So if to be that precise with the drug, but be that terrible at giving yourself injections, it's completely pointless. There's only one right way to do injections, and that's every day with an insulin syringe. And every other way is wrong. So to try to pick the precise drug, it's like saying, I'm going to use hollow point rounds instead of full metal jacket rounds, but you're blind. What's the fucking point? You're not going to hit anything. It doesn't matter, well, the hollow point rounds are more damage to soft tissue. It's like, you're not hitting soft tissue. You're not hitting shit. You're doing everything wrong. So that's the point, is basically, even if you're like, oh, I made money, blah, 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 I don't care about the price, all the money you're spending on Primo, instead of using Masteron, you could just put into better GH or more GH, or pay for testing to find out the exact amounts of... There's other uses of money than just throwing it away on Primo. Now, some people are like, I love Primo. Primo's fantastic, blah, blah, blah. It's like, hey, Primo is fantastic. It is great. I still think Masteron is equivalent at a lower price. And it doesn't have potential scar tissue formation from the welts. If you don't get welts and you're made of money, enjoy your fucking Primo. For everybody who actually cares about what they look like on stage and doesn't have an infinite amount of money to throw away on a drug when they could apply that money to something more valuable like other drugs or a coach or blood work or other medications, then use Masteron. That's about it. Thank you. Have a good day. Oh, please like and subscribe to my channel, and also share this with your friends. If you've got a friend who loves Primo, share this video. Let them call me a twat waffle. I don't care, but it's just, might as well share it and get it out there. I appreciate it because it helps the algorithm. The more people who watch this shit, the more incentive I have to actually make it.